Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Grant Writing Fundamentals session, which will be taken by Efua Elens-Edeh. I'll do her introduction in a short while. I would like to introduce True Version Consulting to everyone. True Version Consulting is founded on the idea of building an ecosystem of women who are passionate about their businesses and who are looking to raising finance funds for their businesses. So what we do in True Version is to find those funding opportunities and connect women to those funding opportunities, as well as help them to prepare for success. Now, we are also open to women-led businesses. When we say women-led businesses, what do we mean? We mean businesses that are, one, at least more than 50% ownership of a business, or if you have a business and you have at least one woman on your board. So these are the targets that we're looking at. We have our website up already. I'm going to give that to you now. www.trouveagent.com. I will spell True Version again. TROUVEARGENT.com. In there, you'll find a lot of details about what we do and the opportunities out there. We would also encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter and be a part of our community. One of the things that you stand to gain by being a part of our community is access to trainings such as this, access to discounted trainings, access to discounted offers, products and services. So I encourage you after this session to go right ahead and go to our website and subscribe to our newsletters. At the end of this, in fact, maybe probably not at the end, I'm sure Efua will tell you more about the offer that is pertaining specifically to this session. So thank you very much for your time.
My name is Efua Elens-Edeh. I am a development consultant, and I'm going to be presenting to you grant writing fundamentals, okay? So the fundamentals of writing a grant, whether you're a social enterprise, whether you're a small business or a nonprofit organization, this is the fundamentals on writing a grant, okay? So I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself. I'm not going to go too much into it because Muyiwa went into a lot of detail. So I have been a development enthusiast since I was 19 years old. I started working in Illinois when I was in college, working in the development sector, and you know, really working on various thematic areas from criminal justice reform, electioneering, healthcare reform, education to in and out of school youth. One of the caveats of what I did as well is I worked with a senior team in business development, grant writing, and increasing revenue of the organization from $150,000 to $3 million. In addition to that, when I came back to Nigeria, I took the helm of affairs of Junior Achievement Nigeria, which is a financial education nonprofit. So it gave me a sense of the wants of corporate Nigeria with corporate social sustainability departments, writing grants to them, partnering with them, building relationships with them, and then also working with international organizations in Nigeria as a sub-Saharan African country as well. In addition to that, I was able to understand the nuances of the development sector in Nigeria and also the structuring of the organization. Because grant writing, yes, you write the grant, but you have to be an organization that is fit and ready to receive these funds. In addition to that, I became a consultant for the National Democratic Institute. That was where my immense passion for the institutional strengthening of NGOs and social enterprises came to bear, because I was traveling around the country and then found that that nonprofits and social enterprises were struggling to receive funding and to become sustainable institutions to be able to maximize social impact. So in addition to that, I've been invited to review grants for various organizations to actually see organizations' readiness to actually implement projects in Nigeria, okay? So I'm just gonna, these are a few pictures. This is me in Chicago, here in Capitol Hill, working on criminal justice reform. Here was the governor signing a bill on providing 10,000 jobs for youth. I was actually the one that took the picture, so that's why you don't see me there. And then fast forward to here in Nigeria, working closely in the war room with Yaga Africa in making the constitutional amendment of the Not Too Young to Run bill. So this was one of our retreats. And then here is also some more institutional strengthening of NGOs and social enterprises in Nigeria. So here is a bit of the information about my social media platform. You can follow me on Facebook, Social Impact Consulting, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then there is my website, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Social Impact Consulting, to get more information about strengthening your organization. Okay, let's get started. So grant writing fundamentals. So I'm just going to give you an outline of where I'm going to be going with this presentation. So I'm going to be asking you, I'm going to be answering the question, what a grant is, the various types of donors. Because you can't just write a grant without knowing the type of donor that you're going to be writing to, okay? And then I'm going to be giving you an idea of a fundamental proposal writing outline, and then obviously what extra support I can provide to you as well. And then I'll summarize and conclude this presentation. So what is a grant proposal? It's pretty much a request. It's a request for application for funding. It's like, please give me some money in exchange for value, okay? So I'm requesting for money from a donor in exchange for impact. So most donors will even call themselves as social impact investors. You understand what I'm saying? So you're applying for those funding from a certain type of donor. Most times, donors have their own templates, but it pretty much feeds into the fundamental template that I'm going to be going over with you. One thing you need to do in terms of writing a proposal is that your vision and mission align with the donor's objectives. So whatever you want to do, it needs to align with their objectives so that they would deem it fit to invest funds with you. And also understanding your organization's requirements and timelines for submission. So a proposal, it's a request in terms of, and it depends on how elaborate the request can be. It can be a fundamental, small 3-page proposal, and it can go up to 50, 60 pages, okay? So it depends on who you're asking for money and how much you're requesting for. Okay, so let's talk about the various types of donors. So you first of all start with corporate sustainability departments. So usually corporations, I'm not affiliated with any of these folks, but these are corporations that have CSR departments that want to show that they're doing good in the areas in which their businesses work, okay? So I'm gonna give you an example of one that I'm very familiar with. First Bank, they actually have Future First in terms of their financial literacy strategic plan, okay? So their financial strategic plan. So with that being said, they are able to align with NGOs and various other stakeholders to partner with them to be able to implement what they want to do in society. For example, if they have a financial literacy course that they are providing in elementary schools around the country, they are getting their volunteers to be able to implement that. And then an NGO can then work with them to make that happen. So that what happens then is that when those youth are financially literate, then they can turn around and then bank with them. So this is kind of a cyclical sustainability strategy that they are thinking about in terms of running their companies. So with sustainability departments, they have a strategic objective. How does this expose us to become better companies? Okay. Can you guys hold on a second? Let me just handle this for a second.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about the break in transmission. Apparently, Efua had some domestic things that she needs to sort out urgently. They came up close to the time for the session. I'm sure she'll be back in a minute.
Okay. So I'm back. So what I was pretty much saying was that the corporate sustainability departments show where it's easy to do business. Okay, so if they are partnering with NGOs or social enterprises, is how it benefits their business. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you are going with an NGO and writing a proposal to these individuals, whether it be ExxonMobil, GT Bank, Airtel, it's okay. What is their sustainability plan? Most of them publish sustainability reports every year. Okay, so my suggestion to an NGO is, if you want to partner with any of these companies, and companies that are not even on this list, they have an annual sustainability report. Once you read that sustainability report, then you can now see how your organization aligns with them, and then you are able to reach out to them as a donor. Okay? Okay, so corporate philanthropy. This is slightly different from a corporate social CSR department of a company, because a lot of these businesses may take a percentage of their profits and put in an endowment. And then it is the interest from that endowment that they are using to give back to the society. So these are examples of a few: Total Foundation, MTN Foundation, and these are international corporate philanthropy. And then you now have Aspire Coronation Trust, which is the philanthropic aspect of Access Bank. So these may have their own strategic objective, their own strategic plan. They have their own board. So there is a pseudo-separate kind of entity from the company in and of itself, okay? So you now have to figure out, okay, what is Total Foundation focusing on? And let me see how my organization can align with that, okay? If they are focusing on education, if they are focusing on the environment, then if you're an environmental organization, you apply to them, and then that is how a partnership can ensue. And then vice versa with all the rest of these organizations, okay? The Aspire Coronation Trust, I know that their 2020 grant cycle has passed, but they have various pillars that they work on: entrepreneurship, health, leadership, and I believe education. So these are things that you can look at and see how you can partner with organizations like these. Then you now look at the private philanthropic arm. These are individuals and families that have decided that they want to give back to society in their own way, okay? So you have people like the T.Y. Danjuma Foundation. I started with our own indigenous foundations and then worked my way down to the internationals. So the T.Y. Danjuma Foundation, the Aliko Dangote Foundation, they focus on health and nutrition. The Tony Olumelu Foundation, focusing on trying to add $1 billion into the African economy by adding entrepreneurs all around sub-Saharan Africa. And I think they've actually met their goal, and they have other strategies moving forward. Then Bill and Melinda Gates, Ford is a family, it's Henry Ford with the Ford Motor Company, but it's their family that's running the Ford Foundation, okay? Then the Open Society Foundation, that's George Soros. And then you have the John and Catherine MacArthur Foundation. So these are individual foundations, but they are run like corporate entities. And that's why some of these foundations are even intergenerational. So it's their third to fourth to fifth generation running these foundations, and their objectives may change over the years. You understand what I'm saying? The MacArthur Foundation, they were funding education and criminal justice, but now they are funding anti-corruption and investigative journalism and maternal mortality. So these are things that their strategic plan could change. So as an NGO, you need to kind of follow that. You don't just write a grant. You don't just say, well, we're doing something great, so the donor will be interested. Not necessarily. You need to really meet their own strategic mandate. You need to know your donor, okay? Because I think Shewan Ibingbe said something at an event I invited him to. He said, donors don't give money to NGOs. They give money to people, okay? So you need to be in a situation where you know your donor knows you, and then you're able to work together, okay? And a lot of these organizations that I put in here, they're in Nigeria. So I'm not just bringing them out of the hat. You can research them yourself and actually apply for funding. So these are international implementing partners. I tell you what, these are companies, for-profit companies that are contractors. They are development contractors that actually bid for projects. So a big bilateral entity can put out a bid, say, okay, we have, our project description is that we want to reduce the rate of maternal mortality by 16% in the next 5 years. So who's going to bid for it? It's going to be a 5-year, $30 million project. You understand what I'm saying? So these companies, they bid for it. And then whoever wins the bid, if the location of implementation is Nigeria, they set up a field office, they work for 5 years, and they pack up and go. So these companies, they need NGOs to implement. So what do these people do? They now award sub-grants to these NGOs. The sub-grants can range from $20,000, $25,000, $100,000, $500,000, millions of dollars, okay? So they will now give an NGO, the NGO will now apply to them. Of course, they will get approval from their clients, whoever the agency is. If approved, then they are the ones that work, not the bilateral. They are the ones that now work directly with you as an NGO or as a social enterprise, okay? So that is a caveat, all right? So these are companies, Chemonics. I've worked with quite a few of these companies, Chemonics, Palladium, Creative Associates is more with health and education, DAI, FHI 360, and I can even mention even international NGOs like the National Democratic Institute, and the National Federation of Electoral Systems, Mercy Corps, Catholic Relief Services, and the organizations go on and on. And these are INGOs, international NGOs, that need NGOs like you to help them implement projects that have been awarded to them by some of these bilateral agencies and these major donors, okay? So these are the major donor agencies I was talking about. And why I say donor bilateral agencies, because they represent countries. So the United States Agency of International Development, USAID, they represent the United States government when they are providing aid to Nigeria, okay? So, and when they provide aid to Nigeria, you can't, as a regular NGO, you can't apply straight to USAID. It's just, you just are not eligible. You would need to go through an implementing partner, an IP, okay? Even when you talk to a USAID person, they'll say, why don't you talk to the IP that's working with us on this project? Hopefully they can award you some funds to implement in your area. And then DFID They are a bit more flexible working with regular nonprofits if you meet their stringent organizational capacity requirements. If your organization can handle that kind of funding, definitely they will work with you. Okay, and if you're transparent and you're good, they can work with you. There are organizations that have been getting millions of pounds right now from the UK government. Okay, and they work in various sectors, from health, governance, agriculture, the gamut goes on and on. Then European Commission, they are the EU, okay? And they do the same thing. They send out a bid, people apply, and then you can work like that between them and between the implementing partner and the NGO. GIZ, the same thing. This is the German government. The German government, they've really been trying to work with entrepreneurs and work to address the unemployment in Nigeria so that they can try to curb the migration that's going on in Nigeria. Okay? So we're gonna keep going. So these are the various gamut of funding. So when you're applying for funds, it can range. It could be a private donor, it could be a corporate donor, it could be a donor agency, it could even be a bilateral or multilateral agency. Multilateral agencies, you can now talk about people like World Bank, and African Development Bank and the UN. Those are multilateral agencies because multiple countries multiple member nations are in that cluster, okay? So those are the set of funding that you will possibly get, whether you be a social enterprise or a nonprofit organization. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to be going into the outline of proposal writing, okay? So like I said, this can go from 3 pages to 100 pages, depending on how extensive the proposal is. Some proposals you write, if you're writing a USAID proposal, by the time you're done writing the proposal, you go on vacation. It's like, I need to go on vacation for 2 weeks after that because it's quite intensive. Or if you want to write a $50,000 proposal, $100,000, 5 to 10 pages should suffice, okay? So here's the outline. So you have to have a title page. Now, if it's an organization that has a template already, you may not need that. But if you're doing with corporate sustainability departments, you need a title page because some of them may not have a template. You will have to write the proposal, put it in writing, and send it to them PDF or physical paper. Title page, and then the outline of the proposal. You know what you want written, the executive summary, the background, project justification, the objectives, what your activities are, your log frame, budget, and conclusion. So this is the gamut of what you'll be writing, whether it be 3 pages or 100 pages. So the title page, it should have your organization's logo and name. What's the title of the project? Who is the author of the proposal, and their contact information, and the date of submission. The outline of this proposal lets the reader know exactly what they're reading. When I'm reviewing proposals, sometimes I might even be too busy and say, okay, I need to just look at the log frame, or I need to look at I'm too busy, I need to look at the executive summary. So that outline will guide the reader in terms of where it is, where where they want to go in the proposal. And when you're writing a proposal, always write from the lens of the reader. Don't be writing about you, because you know what you're going to write. But the person that's reading it, you need to make sure the person that's reading what you want to write is aware of what you're trying to say, which is the fundamentals of communication. So the outline should be the first thing you need to work on. It helps with time management, and it keeps you on subject, and it keeps you on track. The executive summary, like most high-level executives in a foundation or in a corporate CSR department or a private or corporate foundation, they read the executive summary and the budget. Like, okay, what is this about, and what do they want to do, and how much is it going to cost? So it's more of the middle line people that read the details and the technicalities of the proposal. Okay, most high level execs. So that executive summary should have a snapshot of the proposal, and usually it should be the last thing you write. Okay, so when you're doing an executive summary, say, okay, I'm going to leave this for now. Let me write the entire proposal and then summarize everything in the executive summary. Okay, so this session at most, it should be like 2 pages long. Okay, that should be the most that it should be written. Now, the background. Somebody had said to me, I think it was in Lagos Business School, if you need to provide a dreadful scenario of what the problem is, this is where you are going to amplify the problem. It's going to show the reader that you've done your research, you know what you're talking about, you're the subject matter expert of your thematic area. You give them a vivid picture of what the problem is, which is the background. Okay, so if you're an entrepreneurship organization, like, man, the unemployment rate is in the double digits. You know, it's last I checked, it was 26%. The percentage is higher amongst youth. Inflation has gone up at about 13%. You come up with a very accurate, dismal picture of what the problem is, which is what the background should state. Here we talked about women in politics, and the data is even more dismal than it is when I wrote this. It says women in Nigeria currently make 4% of the House of Reps, 6% of Senate, and 6% of state houses of assembly, which is a horrible number. And this was a project for women in politics. How do we empower more women to go into politics? So you're giving a dismal picture of what the problem is, which is the background. The statement has to be compelling. It has to, it should be a statement of, man, this is why this founder, or this is why this organization is doing this. Otherwise, it would be at a point of no return if it's not there already. Okay? So you need, when you are writing this, you now think, why did I start this organization in the first place? It needs to come from the heart. Now we're going into the justification. Out of 300 organizations that have applied for this funding, why should we pick you? Why you? Why are you doing this? You know, so if the project is a project description provided by USAID on their platform, you know, they will have a description. So if it's been predetermined, why are you the right organization to implement it? What do you have that other organizations don't have? What contacts do you have? What structures do you have? What systems do you have? What justifies you being the person to do this? You know, this is where you need to sell yourself as an organization. Okay, you need to sell yourself and why this is going to provide a positive outcome. Don't make it too long, but really make it pack a punch. Now, from here on down to the end of this proposal, everything is connected. From here on down, from here down to the budget, everything here is connected. Your goal, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how much it's going to cost, okay? So the objective is the goal of the project, okay? So, you know, it's what you're going to base your activities on, okay? Because your activities is going to meet your objective, okay? So, like, for example, here we have an objective here, which I worked on a project, a USAID funded project, and I was focusing on objective 3, which was the increased participation of marginalized groups in the electoral process. Okay, so we now broke it down and said, who are the marginalized groups, which is youth, women, and persons with disabilities. It is from there that all the activities will now come from. Okay, so that's where it pretty much begins. So we're now going into the project activities. Okay. Now, I talked about the objective. Okay, so the activities are the collection of inputs in which the project will now be implemented. Okay, so for example, if I need to do a sensitization campaign and do a sensitization campaign to sensitize marginalized groups, okay, what do I need to do? I need to conduct a town hall meeting. So if I'm going to conduct a town hall meeting, how much is that going to cost? What do I need to conduct a town hall meeting? Okay, I need to get a hall. I need to get sound system. I need to invite people. I need to get food. So the activities are the collection of inputs, okay, that will then provide the outputs that you need, that would then provide an outcome which will then meet the objective, okay? So conduct a sensitization meeting. Like, for example, we said, engage marginalized people in the electoral process. One of the marginalized groups is women. Conduct a sensitization meeting on engaging women in local governance. So you're now going to conduct a meeting, okay? So you now list out the activities and track how that is going to happen, okay? So this is the log frame, okay? I'm really excited about this tool. When you put this tool on a proposal, the donor will know that you know what you're doing, okay? So the objective statement is the goal of what you want to accomplish: increase participation of marginalized groups in the electoral process, okay? The performance indicator statement will now be, say, number of events that sensitize the women, or maybe sensitized 10% of women in XYZ local government. Methods of data sources, sign-in sheets, you understand, survey results, whatever method of data that you want to use, okay? And then critical assumptions. When you see a proposal and you see critical assumptions, is what are the risks and how do you plan to mitigate those risks, okay? So, and that is how you keep going. What are your strategic objectives? So your strategic objectives, we talked about increased participation of marginalized groups. What are your immediate results? We are reaching out to women, to 10,000 women in Lokoja, Makurdi, and in Yola. So you now say, okay, then your outputs and then your activities. So you see how everything is just connected. You understand? This is how donors measure where their money is going. Okay? So if you want more information about this, we can talk more about this, because it's very, very intense. This is more of monitoring and evaluation, and which is part of program management. But you need to have a snapshot of this in your proposal, because it lets the donor know that you know what you're talking about. And you let the donor know that he's not just giving you money to just do something and you can't measure it, okay? So that's the log frame. It's a tool for improving the planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of your projects. This is how you will now structure the elements of the project and the linkages. Like I said, from objectives, everything in this proposal needs to be linked, okay? So now, this is the budget. This now, because the proposal is usually divided into two pieces. I've just talked about the technical narrative of the proposal, okay? We've talked about the technical narrative. Now is the financial narrative, which is the budget, okay? This is the financial snapshot of your project. It gives you the cost implementation of the various activities in your proposal. Okay, so what you do in a situation like this, when you're talking about your financial narrative, is each activity that you're running in that project has to be connected to a cost. So for example, if you're going to run a meeting, how much is it going to cost you? How much is it going to cost you for the hall? How much is it going to cost you to get food? How much is it going to cost for transportation and allowance? How much is it going to cost you for the media? So you are going to have to factor in all these costs in your budget. So when you now have your objectives, you now have your log frame with your activities, Then each activity is now costed in your proposal. Okay? So what you do is you conduct research in similar projects you've done either as an organization or do your research so that you don't shoot yourself in the foot and underprice. Do you understand? You don't want to underpromise and then maybe a project supposed to cost $50,000 and you only price it for $20,000. It won't work because the donor will be expecting you to produce. Okay? So ensure you conduct your research and it's in tandem with activities and the bottom line is obvious. When I'm reviewing proposals and things don't make sense, I just give them an F9. Okay? The activity needs to be linked with cost and the cost needs to make sense. Okay? Needs to make sense. And if, let's say a similar activity had been done 3 years ago, factor in inflation, factor in exchange rates while putting it in your own proposal. Okay? So make sure if it's connected, then a donor can now look at the activity and say, this is an interesting activity. How much is it going to cost? And they can look at it. What is the exchange rate? At the time they sent me this proposal, what's the exchange rate? And what's the exchange rate now? And then they will now provide a difference, okay? So I'm going to summarize what I've just said, okay? So the grant writing is the application of funds from a certain type of donor. Like I said, the outline I've given you is the fundamental outline, whether it's a 3-page proposal or a 5-page proposal or it's a 55-page proposal. This is pretty much the fundamental outline. Most donors, they have templates, so things kind of look equal. But we've gone over the general template so that if Fidelity Bank says, okay, we want you to partner with us, we want to go to schools in X, Y, and Z states, please put a proposal together for us. Because no problem, you're able to put a proposal together for them, okay? Even a couple of years ago, I wrote a proposal, I think it was 10 pages. It was I think it was a 15 million naira proposal. You understand what I'm saying? So, and it's the same template, okay? So, what I described is generally acceptable in the outline. So what you need to do, and which is something that I can provide support with you, is you need to understand the requirements and build relationships with your donors. Like what I've just said to you is easy, I guess it could be simple to you. And Muiwa can email you the podcast and you just get the information and work from there. But you don't have to do this even, okay? You don't have to. So what I have here is a course called Fundraising for Social Impact. It provides you the fundamentals on how to raise funds, how to provide you with the information you need to get your organization ready to raise funds, okay? I provide various modules, and then I have 3 different public speakers that are very established in the sector that will provide you with first-hand experience on how they started their organization and how they are managing multi-million-dollar pound projects within their organization and hiring staff all over the country, okay? The online course is only 20,000 naira, and it's going to be like that only till the end of this month, okay? It includes myself and 3 keynote speakers. Like I said, I have over 20 years of experience in this sector. So it is my passion and it is my responsibility to add value to you, okay? So in these various topics, I talk about organizational identity. I talk about who you are as an organization, because a lot of times people don't know who they are. If you don't know who you are, how can you apply for funding? Institutional capacity. Do you have the institutional capacity to raise funds? Even if you are in a one-room office, do you have your institution set up that when you raise funds and then the funds are drawn down, you are able to get going, okay? Strategic planning, I talk about that. How is your strategic plan in line with your donors? Your fundraising plan, Do you have a plan, or you're just writing proposals? And then the various types of funding. Okay, it's only 20,000. It's only 20,000 naira till the end of this month, and I have various testimonials concerning this. You know, this is Tina Hannes. She runs an organization that serves people, excuse me, in the IDP camps. Okay, I mean, she's actually been working with me for about over 2 years now, and her organization is growing and thriving. This is Ebenezer Egwatu. He says, "Thank you, Madam Efua. Time well spent, money well invested. One thing about me is that I provide more value than the money that is given to me." Ebenezer is actually running a healthcare justice organization. You hear him on the radio, and he talks about equity for women in healthcare. Then he actually came from Ghana. He flew in from Ghana to one of my events, and I've actually been doing coaching with him remotely here in Nigeria. So he's also been working with me for over 2 years, and he has a thriving organization that works with orphanages in Ghana. So now I'm going to be talking to you now about writing a grant and concluding this session, okay? If you don't know how to write a grant, you might as well forget it in terms of running a sustainable nonprofit and social enterprise, okay? If you don't know how to write a grant, you need to know how to do this, and I can help you and guide you through it. So what I've given you is the fundamentals of writing a simple fundamental grant, along with this, with the fundraising, NGO fundraising for social impact. Because you are here with this webinar, I will give you a free 30-minute coaching session and my free ebook. My ebook is not free, but I'm tacking it on here for free, okay? Because of this session with Muyiwa. So if you call me and you say you came from Muyiwa, I will give you a 30-minute coaching session, and I will also give you the free ebook. It's not free, but it's free if you come from Muyiwa, okay, with the Travail Agent, okay? So I thank you for having me. Muyiwa, thank you for having me. I was very excited to provide value. I hope that you all got a lot out of what I explained to you. And I look forward to hearing from you. If there are any questions, if your audience has any questions, you can email those to me as well. And I look forward to some more engagement.
Right. Thank you so much, Efua. That was quite enlightening and interesting as well. So it's questions and answer time. We have about 5 to 10 minutes to do that. Someone had already sent in a question earlier. She wanted to know, what about funding for profit organizations? Do they have access to grants as well? And you know.
Yeah, so with for-profit, it's quite tricky. So it depends on what you're doing. Now there's, with the sustainable development goals, there's the empowerment of women. So there's funding for women and everything. So, you also have that as well. Then you also have funding for various sectors. Maybe if they're trying to, in the agri sector, if they're saying, okay, we want to fund something in the agricultural sector. So it's also, some of these funding can just be sector specific. So if somebody, if you are in a different, so if you're in the fashion space, it might be a bit challenging, unless maybe you're an organization run by women. By women. But you have to really dig through to find those in terms of being a for-profit entity. So you just have to really do your due diligence and really search and make sure that your organization is ready. You have your business plan in place. You have you have your audited financials in place. You know your numbers, so that people may be more apt. So you have to really be ready, as a for-profit, if you want to look for funding. But those are very stringent, and they are few and far between.
And I give me 1 second. Someone went out. Let me just try to admit the person back in. And I second that, because I've worked with a few clients who have had this challenge, you know. But that's why we are here in True Version. So we, you know, made this search. It's a lot of work, which which we would get paid for to do, because it's a lot of digging into the global market to see what's available. I mean, there are some grants available for even arts and culture, you know, technology and all of that, but it's a whole lot of work. But they exist. They are very few and far between, and very competitive. So that's the one thing that we need to know.
And that's why institutionally, you know, that's where you come in terms of making sure that they are ready institutionally, so that they are competitive enough to even get these grants.
Exactly. So one of the things I tell my clients is you have to be prepared. Success only happens when preparation meets opportunities. So I can find the opportunities, but if you're not prepared, then success is not going to happen. But we help to get you prepared if you're not prepared. That's why we're here. Okay, do we have any other questions coming in? Okay, so we have comments coming in. The session was very insightful. That's Tosin. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tosin. Sheyi says, amazing time with Efua, very valuable insights shared. Wi-Fi Combat says very informative and impacting. Okay, Daily Tedro Show, thank you very much. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'll just like to reiterate that this session will be available in a podcast and available on our website. It's been recorded, obviously, but it will only be available to people within our network. By your attending this session, we assume that you're okay to be within our network. We have put you within the ecosystem. And like I mentioned earlier, for the benefit of those that joined us a bit late, our ecosystem is basically to help connect you with training such as this at a discounted value. For now, we're still doing some of these free webinars, but in future, we'll probably just be having it available at discounted rates. You get these trainings at discounted rates. Products and services will also be available to people within the network at discounted rates. Our website is www.trueversion.com. I'll just share the page with you real quick. Okay, give me a second. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so that's our page. You can easily scroll to subscribe to our page. So the podcast will be there. We will email you when it is ready, because we need to tidy it up and make it available to everybody. But if you are not happy to be a part of the network, please email us to let us know. We'll be happy to unsubscribe you, because we do not want to spam you. We respect your privacy. So please do let us know if it is something that you're not willing to be a part of. Like Efua said, this her offer is available only till the end of the month. So let us know by email if you're willing to take up the offer, and we will send you. Unfortunately, someone is coming in at the end. We will send you the your promo code to be admitted for the free offer that Efua has given us. So this is one of the benefits of being in our network. Please spread the word. We appreciate your time to join this, and have a good evening. If there are no other comments, does anybody have other comments? All right, everybody. Thank you, and do enjoy your evening.
Okay, thank you.
All right.